Melania Trump is being haunted by the Epstein files in federal court. This is the karma Melania Trump deserves. Now, Melania Trump has been threatening to sue a lot of reporters and journalists who made statements about her connections to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. One of those people she threatened to sue was Donald Trump's former biographer, Michael Wolff, and she said back in October of 2025, if you do not issue a retraction based on articles and statements you made to the Daily Beast and elsewhere, Melania said, Wolff, I'm going to sue you for $1 billion and issue a public apology to me immediately. Michael Wolff said, you know what, Melania, I'm going to sue you in New York State Court for your attack on my free speech right. Wolff sues Melania in New York State Court. She tries to dodge and duck service of the summons and complaint. She basically disappears as Wolff tries to serve her. She then makes a filing in federal court trying to remove the case that Wolff filed in state court to federal court. She now wants that case transferred to Florida, where she says that she lives in Mar-a-Lago. Michael Wolff says, no, this is just a scam you're running to try to get the case in front of Judge Eileen Cannon, and we don't think you actually live in Florida. We think you live in Trump Tower. Michael Wolff identifies not the penthouse where Trump lived or lives in or once lived in Manhattan at Trump Tower, but another unit. And Michael Wolff says, Melania, your doorman, the people who work in the lobby, were also saying you live here, and he brings a bunch of other evidence. Melania's lawyers say, well, she's got a Florida driver's license, she's got a voting record in Florida, but Melania does not submit a declaration, and Michael Wolff tells the federal judge where Melania has tried to move this case in front of, she hasn't even submitted a declaration, Your Honor. And when you look at her posts that she makes on social media, if you look at the movie Melania, and if you look at the Epstein files, you'll see that she continually talks about New York as her home. Heck, she made a social media post where she bragged about being from New York. Remember when she made this post back in August 27th of 2024, where she says, New York City captivated my heart the moment I arrived 28 years ago today. This is an electrifying town. It's not just my home. It's a colorful canvas where dreams come alive. New York's iconic skyline and vibrant culture inspire me every day. So it's an interesting dynamic here, right? Melania threatens to sue Wolff for defamation. She still hasn't sued him for defamation. Wolff sues her for attacking his First Amendment right. She doesn't file any counterclaims or any cross complaints. She dodges service. She runs to a federal judge in New York to try to delay this thing and get it moved to Florida, where I think she wants to be in front of Judge Cannon. But Wolff continues to call her out. And he also, says, look, remember this email that Ghislaine Maxwell and Melania sent to each other back in 2002, where Ghislaine referred to Melania as Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea, thanks for your message. Actually, plans changed again, Ghislaine told Melania in 2002. And I'm now on my way back to New York. I leave again on Friday, so I still do not think I have time to see you, sadly. I will try and call, though. And Melania previously wrote to her, how are you? Nice story about Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine. You look great on the picture. That's the New York Magazine profile where Donald Trump said Epstein likes girls on the younger side. I know you are very busy flying all over the world, Melania tells Ghislaine. How is Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you are back in New York. So Wolff is like, she's saying she lives in New York here, and now she just is claiming she lives in Florida again to try to get this case before Judge Cannon, and she's saying she votes there, and she's saying that she has a license there. But what if she's doing it for other purposes? Hypothetically, could it be an issue over state income taxes? I don't know. We're just asking questions here, using our First Amendment right to do that. Is she claiming other reasons and other protections, homestead exemptions and other things to try to say her domicile is in Florida? But she seems to want to delay a case where Wolff is suing her But she said she was going to be suing Wolf for defamation. So if you think Wolf defamed you about making comments that you have connections to Ghislaine and Epstein, why don't you sue Wolf for $1 billion? Or are you afraid of discovery? And Melania seems to be just that, afraid of discovery. So the latest filing that just took place was by Michael Wolf. He just filed this brief, and he points out a few things. He said, look, if Melania really claims she lives in Florida, okay, her lawyers are saying she's got a license there and she votes there and all of these things. So why wouldn't Melania herself sign an affidavit under penalty of perjury that says that? The most basic thing in the world, if you're claiming that, is sign a declaration under penalty of perjury. But Melania has refused to do that. One of the other things that Michael Wolf points out as well, because one of the ways a case can go to federal court or it stays in federal court is if the parties are from different states. Wolf is from New York. Melania claims she's from Florida, and the damages being sought are over $75,000. Wolf, very smart litigation strategy. He goes, I'm not claiming over $75,000 in damages. I'm claiming under $25,000 in damages. I'm just claiming that Melania chilled my First Amendment speech. She wants to write me a check and admit that she's wrong for $20,000. That's fine. I'm actually not. She's the one who claimed billions of dollars in damage, not me. I just want her to stop threatening my free speech right to express my opinions and to report about my belief that she has these connections to Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And it's not just my opinions. Look at the email that I just discussed with you. Sweet Pea, Jeffrey Epstein, great in New York Magazine, the photos of Melania and Epstein and Ghislaine together. They seem to be social buddies. It is what it is. I mean, what? Melania says she wants to sue Michael Wolf because he said that it was Epstein who connected Melania with Donald Trump. And she goes, that's not true. It was a guy named Paolo Zampoli, another guy who owned a modeling agency. And we were introduced at the Kit Kat Club. You know, this guy Zampoli, he's an ambassador now. He's a major diplomat for Donald Trump. Go figure, right? He was the one who connected Donald Trump and Melania. This guy had a modeling agency where he brought in young Eastern European girls or women, and he brought them to New York, and he would host these parties at the Kit Kat Club where the wealthy Manhattan businessmen, the rich, the elites, if you will, would go and meet these Eastern European girls, and Melania met Donald Trump that way. Melania says that's the true story. And even though Epstein and Paolo and Donald and Jean-Luc Brunel and, you know, all those people were friends and they were tight, it was actually Zampoli. That's the distinction that Melania wants to make right here. Let me just go through this filing that was just made in the past 48 hours by Michael Wolf. Trump's failure to offer, referring to Melania, any facts or declaration by her or her counsel to justify removing this case to federal court or to contest Wolf's detailed presentation of facts mandates remand. Meaning let's litigate and fight this case out in state court. The analysis of citizenship turns not on formalities, Wolf says, but on the realities of a person's life. It looks to the center of Melania Trump's domestic, social, and civil life, and on her intent to return, even if she presently lives elsewhere. The burden of proof falls heavily upon the party seeking removal. When one professes a change in citizenship, that burden is heightened. The removal statute is to be construed strictly and narrowly, resolving all doubts against removability. Wealthy people may have multiple residences, but they could have one citizenship. To rely, as Trump has, on nothing more than a claim of possession of a driver's license and a voter registration and other merely conclusory pronouncements, coyly referencing in a memo of law, demonstrates nothing more than a residence. Beyond that, Trump has shown nothing. Trump's citizenship and personal jurisdiction claim times are ill-served by these meager offerings. There's no declaration from Melania Trump, no declaration from her attorneys, no assertion of fact anywhere beyond the conclusory claim to Florida citizenship and an unseen driver's license that allowed Trump to vote in Florida. More remarkable is that Trump has offered no declaration or affidavit even to challenge any of the facts in our lengthy declaration that outlines Trump's true, sustained, and substantial activities in New York City. Not a single fact set out in our declaration has been contested by any submission from defendant Trump in the motion sequence. This factual silence is nothing less than a default, a proof of failure. There is no factual record now to justify removal, no factual record to support lack of jurisdiction. This is not merely a proof of failure, it's a deliberate choice to avoid having Trump make any sworn commitments or to have any sworn commitments made for her by her counsel. It is a withholding of information that warrants an adverse inference. If there are any doubts, remand is required. If there is a firm factual contest, then discovery is warranted. Now, that's an important point because Wolf is saying, okay, she's not putting forward any affidavit. Her lawyers didn't put forward any affidavit. That's pretty suspicious. If you really claim you live in Mar-a-Lago, your lawyer's not going to put that under penalty of perjury himself, even though he's actually not the appropriate affiant, the person who writes the affidavit. You're not going to do it yourself, Melania? Okay. So now, even if Judge, Your Honor, you think that because of what Melania put in a memorandum of law, which is not evidence, but let's just assume you think it's 50-50. Melania says she lives in Florida and you think it's a tough call. Okay. Michael Wolff calls Melania's bluff and says, you know what we need to do? Let's take discovery. Let's have a deposition and let me go through the Epstein files with her that talk about New York. Let me go through the Melania movie with her where all of her team and all of her staff live in New York. Let me ask her about the specific apartment that I believe she lives in Trump Tower. Let me confront her with the fact that the doorman who's at Trump Tower says that this is her home. Let me confront her with her social media posts where she calls New York her home. And at the end of the day, folks, I don't want to miss the forest here for, zooming in on the trees. Melania is saying that Michael Wolff defamed her when he talks about her connections with Epstein and Ghislaine. Okay, she said, I'm going to sue you. She didn't. She still hasn't sued him. She hasn't sued him in Florida. She hasn't sued him in New York. She hasn't sued him anywhere. And now she's playing games with her domicile, her jurisdiction, to try to get this case, in my opinion, before Judge Cannon, and then try to get this New York federal judge to move the case to Florida, and then once it's in Florida, to try to get the case dismissed or delay it. I mean, one of Melania's big arguments to try to get this case dismissed is that she hasn't been served because she has Secret Service and because she's able to avoid service. She says that's why this case should be dismissed. So she went from threatening to sue, billion-dollar lawsuits and all of this to now saying, you can't catch me, you can't catch me. But Melania, don't you want to try to catch Michael Wolff? If you believe that he's defaming you, now countersue him for $1 billion and present your case. So I don't know about you or what you think here. Isn't some of these facts just so glaring? She doesn't submit the affidavit. She doesn't sue him. She threatens. She huffs and puffs, but doesn't want to, in my view, sit for a discovery or have her deposition taken. And I think she's being utterly exposed right now. And folks, this comes at the very same time, the very same moment that we know that Donald Trump is concealing multiple interviews of an individual who claims she was sexually assaulted as a minor by Donald Trump. We have right here the evidence log. And in the evidence log, and you got to give a shout out to Roger Sullenberger, also great reporting by NPR and others on this one, and a great work by the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. But you can see here in this log, there are interviews that have not been produced of an individual who says that when she was a minor, Donald Trump sexually assaulted her. Where are those interviews? Oh, affidavits are missing. 302 interviews are missing. Everything is missing. But guess what Melania wants to talk about? Guess the level of corruption here. Melania Trump will preside over a UN Security Council meeting on Monday, per a statement by the Office of the First Lady, which will mark the first time a sitting U.S. First Lady presides over a Security Council as members consider education, technology, peace, and security. Why is Melania Trump presiding over the UN Security Council? The hell is that about? So she's avoiding service, but she's going to go into the UN and speak to who wants to speak to her about anything, right? I mean, who's trying to even talk to her about any of that? So there you have it. But look, Melania, like a lot of these people that are surrounding Donald Trump, right? I've had no connections. I don't know anything. I don't know Ghislaine. I don't know Jeffrey. You said Jeffrey Epstein looked great in the New York Magazine article where Donald Trump says that Epstein likes girls on the young side. Okay. You said Ghislaine looks great in the photos. She's calling you Sweet Pea. You obviously were friends. You seem like you were close friends based on that, in my opinion. So that's where we're at right now. That's the latest filing in Wolf's lawsuit against Melania. Thanks for watching, and hit subscribe, and let's get to 6 million. Thanks, everybody.